What is going on, Colts Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Well, guys, sorry I'm getting this video out a little bit later than normal, but here we are. Wanted to give you guys, especially with the Colts, starting a little bit later here, not a 1 o'clock game, but at the 4 o'clock slot here. Wanted to give you some keys to the game. The Indianapolis Colts hope to take down the Rams in LA. This is what they must do. This is going to be a tough matchup for Indianapolis. The Rams, I would say, the best team by far the Colts have played up to this point. The Rams, who went toe-to-toe and were leading for a good chunk of last week with the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. So Colts are going to have to be on their game this week in order to pull out a victory and head to 4-0 for the first time since 2009. Before we get to these keys to the game, though, guys, just want to say this episode is sponsored by FanDuel. So week 4, guys, is already underway from Thursday Night Football, when we obviously saw the Seattle Seahawks take care of business there against the Arizona Cardinals. That was a big game and a really exciting game also. So there are a ton more games, guys, here on the schedule here for week number 4. I mean, like I said, Colts versus Rams, probably one of the more hyped games here of the week 4 slate, but there are still a ton of different options here to bet on some games. And when we're looking here just at the Colts specifically, when you look at the Colts in this game right now, the Colts are underdogs by 3.5 points. So if you're wanting to make some bets there, you think the Colts can pull it off in Los Angeles, be sure to go get that there on FanDuel. Also, if you think, hey, point total is going to be over 49.5, which is the money line right now, you want to hit the over, go do that. But yeah, guys, again, shout out to FanDuel. Really appreciate them being a season-long sponsor for the NFL season. But without further ado, let's get into this. And guys, today, for this game the Colts are going to be playing, I have 4 specific keys I want to highlight today. And there's a lot of stuff within these keys that I think if the Colts could do these things, they have a really good chance, like I said, to go 4-0, remain undefeated here in 2025. So let's hop right into these things. And I think the first thing you have to talk about when talking about this Indianapolis Colts team has been this offense. I mean, there has been no doubt this Colts offense has been nothing short of incredible this season. I mean, we already know only 1 punt this entire season so far through 3 weeks. The Indianapolis Colts have broken many records so far. They have looked very, very good, and they've played probably the best complimentary football they've played in quite some time, and definitely in Shane Steichen's stint as the Indianapolis Colts head coach. So they continue to find rhythm. They continue to score. They continue to get first downs, continue to move it, down the field. And they got to do that again in this game. And this is a Rams defense that definitely is tough. I mean, it's the defense that really for a good chunk of that game was holding the Philadelphia Eagles offense in check. I mean, they were able to, slow down Saquon Barkley. They were able to really get to Jalen Hurts. And then obviously the dam kind of broke in the second half there. But this is still a very talented group, all things considered, especially with that defensive front. You got guys like Brandon Fisk. You got Jared Verse, who obviously was a very, very good defensive end his rookie season, off to another strong start. And there are some other players as well. So I think for this Colts offense, they just need to do what they've been doing. They need to stay in a rhythm. They need to get first downs. They need to move the ball methodically. Because like I said, even though the Rams really were doing a good job of containing this Eagle offense in the first half, in the second half, the dam broke. I mean, the Eagles were able to do whatever they wanted. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, whoever they wanted, they were able to take advantage of that Rams defense. So if the Colts can do something similar in this game, I think they're going to be just fine. But you got to continue, like I said, continue to get first downs, continue to put together long drives. You got to just continue to do the things that you've been doing so well. And it's going to start with Daniel Jones, what he's able to do. Is he going to be able to, have time? Is he going to be able to get protected well? And are the Colts going to be able to establish the run game with Jonathan Taylor? And this is, for as much issues as they had in that second half, the Rams defense held Saquon Barkley in check last week. So will they be able to do the same with Jonathan Taylor, or will Taylor be able to get going? I mean, Taylor coming off of one of his best performances as a pro, had 3 touchdowns in that game last week against the Tennessee Titans, and then obviously had a really strong game against the Denver Broncos, who have a really good defense as well. So can Jonathan Taylor continue to do what he's been doing right now? He leads the NFL in rushing yards. Can the Colts offense just continue to stay on track when it comes to the offense and, not continue to not punt, continue to extend these drives out? If they can do that, I think that's a really, really good sign moving forward that this offense, it's not just a flash in the pan. It is a legitimate top offense, is going to be a top offense for the entirety of this season. So that is a big thing there, guys. The Colts got to stay in rhythm when it comes to the offense, and that's including now having a new right guard, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But yeah, overall, guys, the Colts got to stay in rhythm offensively. They got to be able to run the ball. They got to be able to protect Daniel Jones against a pretty strong Rams front seven. So if they can do that, I think they'll be just fine offensively. And when it comes to the defense on the flip side of things, and within that, when the Colts stay on rhythm, one thing they need to do is they need to get 6, not 3, especially with the type of team the Rams are, where you need to score every point you can, because the Rams at any point can score on you. You need to make sure, if you're the Indianapolis Colts, you're not, when you get into the red zone, you aren't just settling for these field goals. We've seen the Colts, if there's been any criticism of their offense through 3 weeks, it's that red zone offense. It's been an issue. And I thought they did a better job there against the Tennessee Titans. There still were a few issues in that game. So the Colts need to make sure going into this game that they are scoring touchdowns instead of field goals. Again, you'll take field goals because points are points, but you need to make sure, if you're the Indianapolis Colts, that you are scoring more often than not 6 instead of 3. So those two things kind of feed into each other, with the staying on rhythm, and also within that, when you get to the red zone, actually capitalizing, and from a Shane Steichen standpoint, calling plays that have worked in the red zone and not allowing these drives to stall out. So that is definitely something there, is score 6, not 3. And if you stay on rhythm and do that, and then you can be efficient in the red zone, your offense is going to continue to just do what it's been doing, and even better than it's been doing, to be honest with you. So that's definitely a good thing there. Now, when you flip it over to the other side of the ball, I think the big thing for me in this game for this Colts defense is they've got to figure this defensive line out. They just have to, and specifically those edge groups, because we already know DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, 2 of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL. But when it comes to the edge room, let's be honest, the edge room's not been good. It's been very underwhelming so far through 3 weeks. There really hasn't been a player that stood out. I mean, Tyquan Lewis would probably be the guy if you're pointing to somebody right now, but he's a role player. So you need a player like Latu to step up in this game. You need him to finish, not just get pressures, but finish and have those translate into sacks. Through 3 weeks, to be honest with you, Latu's been okay, but he hasn't been able to create the consistent pressure that you expected out of him. So he really needs to have a strong performance here, especially with the type of offense the Rams run. I mean, we already know Matthew Stafford, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. When he is upright and he's protected, he can slice and dice any defense. I don't care how talented you are. He is that good. He is a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion. He is that stinking good still, even past 30. So you definitely have to get to Matthew Stafford. You have to make him uncomfortable. You got to send some guys. You got to do some stuff to just get him off his rhythm here, because if not, it's going to be a long day for your defense. That, mind you, is also banged up in that secondary. So you got to do that. And then just when it comes to this defensive line, specifically at the edge, we saw this last week. The Colts edges were just very bad at setting the edge in the run game. I mean, they were consistently getting blown off the ball, and the Titans were able to run the football decently effectively. And the Colts have, while I would say they were better against the Titans, they still, through 3 weeks, have had a pretty underwhelming run defense. I mean, especially that Denver game. I mean, J.K. Dobbins was able to do whatever he wanted. And Miami, if they would have stuck with it, they were averaging over 5 yards per carry. So you got to figure it out when it comes to this defensive line from a pass rush standpoint and then from a run standpoint, because Kyron Williams, I think, is one of the most underrated backs in football, and he will make you pay if you are not careful there. And with the amount of sheer weapons that this offense has, you got to make sure Matthew Stafford doesn't have the time to find those guys, because if he does, it's going to be a tough game for you defensively. All right, and the last thing I have to talk about here when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts, and the final key to the game for me, is this idea of it's got to be a next man up mentality. You're going to be missing 3 players, 3 key guys on your roster in this game. You're going to be missing Alec Pierce, the wide receiver, who suffered a concussion. You're going to be missing Matt Gonsalves, who isn't going to be playing in this game, your right guard. So it's going to be Dalton Tucker having to step up there. And then you're going to be missing as well Kenny Moore, who injured that calf in last week's game. So it's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be called upon here to step into bigger roles. Adonai Mitchell is going to have to fill that role of Alec Pierce. Now, he hasn't seen a ton of snaps, but when he has, he's been fairly well targeted in his first 3 weeks in 2025. So with more targets, with more snaps, hopefully he can take advantage of that and your offense doesn't miss a beat there. And then when it comes to the right guard position, it's going to be Dalton Tucker filling in at right guard, who definitely had his fair share of struggles last year when called upon due to injury. So he's got to figure that out. He's got to be even average would be fine with me. He's just got to fill in adequately. And then with Kenny Moore, it's going to be Mike Hilton, the new sign corner for the Indianapolis Colts, who, mind you, is very familiar with Lou Anarumo's scheme here. But you're going to have to rely on those guys like that to step it up here and play big roles for some really key and important pieces for both sides of the football. So it's a next man up mentality. You got to figure it out. If you're the Indianapolis Colts, if you can do those things, you're going to be just fine, but it's going to be a challenge. Like I said, guys, the Rams are one of the better teams in football. So this is definitely going to be a great barometer test for kind of where you are as a football team. Yeah, you're 3-0, but this is by far the best football team that you have seen so far. So can the Colts take care of business? I think they still are more than capable of doing so, but it's definitely going to be a tough test away from home here, West Coast against a really talented Rams team. But hey, like we said, this is a game the Colts can win, but they got to do these things in order to come away with a victory here and go to 4-0 on the season for the first time since 2009. But guys, let me know your thoughts here on this game, on some keys to this game. And do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. Guys, Derek's going to be going live tomorrow, so be sure to check that out and hang out with him tomorrow when the game does kick off. Tomorrow, Colts versus Rams in the 4 o'clock slot, so be sure to check that out. And, it's going to be a great time. We hope you will join us for that. But, guys, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. And, as always, go Colts.
Again, shout out to FanDuel again for sponsoring this episode.